Not too long ago, I learned a couple of lessons that changed my life. The interesting thing about lessons, though, is that I learned them when I sucked the most at life. But the beautiful thing about sucking, about failure, about falling flat on your face, is that you always have a chance to get back up again. So these are some of the lessons I learned from when I sucked at life the hardest. And this video is sponsored by Audible, but more on them later. Lesson number 1 is more money doesn't mean more wealth. Money is sometimes the answer, but it isn't always. Sure, having more money is nice, but the most important thing I learned is it's what you choose to do with the money that matters. And this lesson was an expensive one for me. It cost me over $120,000 of student loan debt, my energy, my values, and my time. I kept telling myself that when I just made a little bit more money, I'd be okay. I'd have room to stretch out my legs and to breathe. And when I made this much money a year, my debt would be easily paid off, no problem, and I'd still have money left over to spend on a whole new wardrobe, go on vacations, buy a new car, and impress some stranger that I would probably never meet. But I learned actually not so quickly that what Jay-Z says is kind of right. I'm definitely not mo money, mo problem status, but I do know that if you spend every dollar you have on keeping up appearances rather than investing in yourself and your own future, then all you're gonna have is mo problems. When I decided to get out of debt and change my life, I had to really change how I viewed money and, more importantly, how I spent it. And this will change your behavior. And for me, it changed my life. It changed my relationship with money, but more importantly, it changed my relationship with myself. I started to believe in myself, and I started to see the value that I was putting on things and image, and how I was misplacing value that I could have been putting on myself. Making money is great, wanting to be wealthy is great, but it's what I chose to do with that money that really mattered and changed my life. Lesson number 2 is that you won't lose your edge if you choose to be nice to yourself. I don't know about you, but for me, negative reinforcement was my go-to method of motivation. And I realized after a while, it just wasn't working for me. But I was also really afraid to let go of that because it had gotten me this far. But at the same time, I felt stuck. So what did I really have to lose by being nicer to myself? And I actually really learned a lot about this from Dan Harris's book, 10% Happier. And if you don't know Dan Harris, he's probably the most famous for having this panic attack on national television.
People who take cholesterol-lowering drugs called statins for at least 5 years may also lower their risk for cancer. But it's too early to prescribe statins slowly for cancer production.
And 10% Happier is basically all about that. It's all about how to use mindfulness, looking inward, and meditation to change your life without really losing your edge. And I listened to Dan's book on Audible. As soon as I put in my earbuds and pressed play, I was hooked. Dan narrates the audiobook himself, so you really get a first-hand account of exactly what he was experiencing at the time. And not only is the audiobook enlightening and eye-opening, it's entertaining, it's funny, and I absolutely recommend this audiobook. I'm not a huge reader of books, but I do love to listen to audiobooks. And there is a ton of options available on Audible. And with the Audible Plus catalog, you can listen to audiobooks, podcasts, Audible originals, guided fitness, and even meditation. Every single month, Audible members will get access to 1 free audiobook and full access to the Audio Plus catalog. So there's pretty much everything you need on Audible and the Audible Plus catalog. And if you wanted to give it a try yourself for 30 days, you can text Style Apotheca to 500-500 or click the link in the description. Again, that's Style Apotheca to 500-500. And let me know what you're listening to. So I was definitely a skeptic when it came to using positive self-talk and just being kinder and gentler to myself as a means to keep myself motivated and reach the goals that I wanted to. I learned that it's possible to be mindful and to be kind to yourself without losing your edge. In fact, it might give you the upper hand. I know sometimes it is a little hard to let go of that inner critic and quiet them down a little bit, but see what happens when you maybe listen to the kinder, gentler voice inside. What have you got to lose? The next thing I learned is that it's really good to exercise. You know, one of the hardest lifts is your butt off the couch, but do you ever feel like every time you push yourself to move a little bit, to exercise, and even go on a walk, you always feel better after you do it? Yeah, That's pretty much why I exercise. For the longest time, I had a lot of fears and reservations and insecurities about exercising. I was afraid I would get too bulky. I was afraid I was the weakest person in the room. I become the reddest tomato out of all the tomatoes. But the more I pushed myself to get up and get moving, the more I realized how beneficial just moving your body can be. And I really don't think that there's a certain thing or exercise or movement that is better than another. Just getting up and getting moving, clearing your mind, getting some blood flowing, it just does wonders for your body, your mind, your soul. And sometimes working out straight up sucks. But I know it's a kindness that I'm doing for myself in the long term. So that's why I keep on doing it. And getting over my fear of that or my resistance to it, it really changed my life. The next lesson is that stuff doesn't give you meaning. In fact, getting rid of the stuff has really helped me find meaning because I learned how to detach from it, and I learned how to detach stuff from representing myself and who I was and maybe how interesting I was or wasn't, or how wealthy I was or wasn't at the time. You're still completely whole and worthy in an empty room, and no amount of cars, purses, or blazers is going to change that. Over time, by detaching more and pursuing less, I learned what I truly value. Stuff is fun, stuff is useful, but it's never who you are, and it'll never make you more than who you are. And it took me a while to learn that. And the final lesson I learned is that nobody's gonna do it for you. You might have a lot of goals, ambitions, even a lot of resistance and barriers that you might think are weighing you down and stopping you from doing whatever it is you want to. But the truth of the matter is that no one's gonna do it for you. I spent a lot of time wallowing in a very woe is me mentality and blaming others for the situation that I was in around me. And I think I was waiting for some hero to swoop in and take pity on me and just pay off my debt and solve all my problems. And I realized that hero was never coming, and I kind of had to be my own. I had to be my own Batman. A lot of things that happen to us may not be by choice, but the things that we do have control over, we can make choices about. And if there's something in your life that you want to change, then you can, but it's gonna be up to you to do it. And it'll be hard, and it sucks, and it's uncomfortable, and you'll wanna quit a lot. But over time, the more you do it, you start to prove to yourself that you can. And I think that's when the other lessons that I learned in my life really started to snowball from there. I started to gain confidence in myself. I started to believe in myself. I started to be kind to myself and realized that was helping and not hurting me. Taking ownership of what I could was one of the biggest lessons that I learned. So these are some of the lessons that changed my life forever. I fell flat on my face a lot. The thing is that failure can be an opportunity because there's a lesson to be learned from it. So when it feels like life is sucking the most, there might be something in there for you. Thanks again to Audible for sponsoring this video. And if you were interested in trying it yourself, totally free for 30 days, you can text Style Apotheca to 500-500 or click the link in the description down below. What are some lessons that you learned that changed your life? I really want to know. Thanks again for watching, guys. See you in the next one. Bye.